Hi YouTube, it's DAJ, and I thought I would go ahead and start a video in regard to putting a napkin on some type of a base. Yesterday I posted these 3 journal pages for the Deconstructed Art Journaling group, and my private message area, the PM area, just kind of blew up with wanting to know how I attach them. So I'll go ahead and give you some information on that. This is the first one. This is the front, the center, the back. Okay. This is the second one. Center, back. This is the third one. This was more the, this particular one has more of a Paris theme. Front, center, and back. And then the last one, front, center, and back. And these are going to some new members that I am mentoring. So this is not part of a group swap, and you're seeing something that won't be a surprise. So, and with these pages, it's a situation where they have no idea of what they're getting. So anyway, let me go ahead and talk a little bit more about how I attached the napkins to a base. In this case, I just have, this is a little bit heavier paper. This is more of your, I'm losing my words this morning. That's not good. I guess I haven't had enough coffee. Anyway, you can start with any kind of a heavier paper, whether it's, I don't know, music paper, construction paper, something from a magazine, and just go from there. Cardstock, there's the word I was missing. I like to always do some kind of little bit of printing on there, so that if I have some kind of white on my napkin, that this will show through just as a little more interest. When I make these, I make a minimum of 5 or 6 at a time, so that's why sometimes you'll see where I've made several that look very similar. But anyway, let's go ahead and go a little bit further with this. First of all, with a napkin, in this case, here's one that I've got several of. I happen to like this. It's got nice bright colors. And what I did was, I just cut off a corner like this. And with these napkins, they're going to have 3 layers, okay? 1, 2, 3. And what I normally do is I just kind of rub it together like this, and they will just almost automatically separate. And then you just pull them apart. Okay, there's your 3 layers. Pull it apart. And I'm going to save this. I don't throw these away. I mean, this can be used to mop up paint. It can be used for texture. I'm not going to throw away something that is still usable. Okay. So now I've got this piece, very, very thin, very fragile. And I'm going to look at this and see just how I want to use it. Do I want to use just part of it and cut out some areas? Do I just want to put it on here and excuse me, fill in areas around it? Like on this one, you can see how I've put it as a triangle in the center, so it means that I put it on there like that. Excuse me. And that's the way this one started. Okay. On another one, I put it on here like this and added this border. That border is also a napkin. Okay, so like this. And what I did was, I used more the center part of the napkin so that it overlapped on either side. And then I just added this border. And that border, this is what's left. This was a napkin that had this black border, and I just glued it on there. Okay, so that'll give you some ideas there. Alright, let me move some things around here real quick. When I'm getting ready to do this, I try to go through my pieces. Like this napkin had the two little cherubs together like this. And on the one that I made, I cut the cherubs apart and put them on the napkin like this. Okay, so you've got a lot of different ways that you can use your napkins. And I hang on to my bits and pieces as long as they're large enough to do something with. Let's see, let me find the right one. Okay, just one second here. Okay, now on this one, where this is my center, I took these butterflies and I added them on there. Okay. Now, another way to look at your napkins is as a whole. Okay. The whole piece at one time. In this case, okay, let me fold this up and you can see what I'm talking about. This napkin is a tree and a house in the back. Now that's really pretty cool. You could use it just like that. Or a lot of times what I'll do is I will look at the very center of the napkin and see what I can come up with right here in the very center. That is very interesting to me. Okay? Now, just one of these corners would be fine, but I want to see what that will look like on a napkin. Now, there's different ways that you can glue napkins down. You can spray them. You can use a spray like this, or like this. You can glue them with things like this, or matte medium. There's many different ways that you can attach your napkins. So I'm not saying what I'm doing is the only way. I'm just going to say that it's the way I do it. Okay? Now, with the sprays, this is nice because it's all-purpose. It's really good for a napkin because it is repositional. You can pick things up and move them for about 10 minutes. And after that, they become pretty much permanent. It doesn't smell too bad, but I always use any of these sprays outside because I don't want overspray on anything. I did go ahead and spray one of these sheets, and it's kind of tacky to the touch. And I'm going to go ahead and set this down in the center, just like this. I'm going to curl this up, looking at my sides, and I'm going to press down in the center and put it like that. Okay. Because I want to see what this napkin looks like just as the center. Now, I know some of you like to just wet the edges and cut your pieces off that way. I personally prefer to cut them. Now, what I'll do is I'll start on an edge like this and just cut around the edge. Now, like I said, this is just the way that I do it. I've been doing it this way for a long time, and it's hard to make changes when you get real old like me, but that's okay. And I'm not doing a perfect job at the moment, because I don't want to run too far over on time, and I don't want to bore you to death. Okay, so this, I'm going to save this because I can probably use it in another way. Look what that turned out to look like. Now, isn't that cool? Now I can still add things to that. I have another napkin, I think, that has a bird on it. I could add some butterflies to it. Look how this comes together. Isn't it just the coolest thing ever? Okay. Now, a lot of times I'll use the top. See how smooth that is, that top? And I will just take and kind of rub it on there like this. And any kind of bubbles, any kind of air pockets, it generally just rubs out. Now, there we go, like this. And like I said, after about, I don't know, probably 10 minutes or so, this will become permanent. I won't be able to peel this back. Okay? Now, another way to do this is if you have one that you're going to attach. Let me find it here. Let's get another piece. Let's say you don't have the sprays. Let's say I want to put that right there like that in the center. Okay? What I can do is I can tack that down with my glue stick. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hold it in place, and I'm going to flip it over, and I'm just going to come right up through the center like this, and I'm just going to tack this down just like so. If I go over the areas that it goes beyond where the napkin is, no big deal. And then from the center, I'm going to take my fingers. See, I'm holding this up, and I'm going to push out like this from the center, and then I'm going to go from the center and push out, and I'm going to go from the center and push out. Okay? And this way you're not seeing any bubbles at all. You're going to see the bubbles when you apply wet. Okay, let's go this way again. Just like so. Now, doing this alone, just like this, you probably would not have to put a coating over the top of it if you didn't want to. But the issue comes in there is if you want to add some writing or some additional paint or something like that. Because then what happens is you apply a wet on this surface, and it gets a little bit bubbly, and it also will bleed out if it hasn't been protected on top with something, whether it's a matte medium or Hot Podge or Mod Podge or what have you. Okay, just like so. And then what I do is I will get a piece of wax paper like this, put it over the top, and I just kind of rub it like this. The wax paper is slick. The wax paper is slick, and so I don't have to worry about messing up my napkin. And it also adds a little protective barrier too. Okay, there it is. Now, on this side I can just go in there, trim off my pieces, like so. And there's another starting. Now, if I wanted to go ahead and add something to protect the top of this, I could use, there's a lot of different products that you can use, but I personally will use either a real super thin layer of just like Elmer's glue, or a real super thin layer of the Mod Podge. And you can see here I've added just a little bit of water to that because I do not want that super thick on there. And then what I do, I just come in there very quickly, just like this. I want to be very quickly. I don't want to stall around. Just like that. And I'm done. That is it. Okay. I've got an edge that's curled up right there. Can you see the edge? Okay, that's where I'm going to touch that. Right there on the edge. I'm going to pull that down. Do I have any more edges? A little bit right there. Pull it down. And basically, I'm going to leave that alone for just, a couple of minutes. And let this dry. And you may see some little bubbles coming up. Right about there. There's tiny little bubbles. Don't touch them. Leave them alone. Because once you get to a point where this is about dry, you can take that wax paper and rub on there again, and it'll push them down. Okay, and then if you look at the light, kind of get the light on there like this, you can see if you've missed any places. I would much rather put 2 or even 3 very thin coats on there than have one thick coat and just have it all pulling apart. Okay, so don't be heavy-handed with it. You could also do a spray on there. I use a lot of the Krylon acrylic spray, clear spray, and you could put that over the top, and that'll work. Okay, just trying to show you some examples, ideas there. At this point, I've got these corners that I could add something to. You just go back through your scraps, go back through your pieces. Okay, like this. This is something in which, if I wanted more flowers on there, I could cut these out, fussy cut those out, and add it to the corners if I wanted to. Or if I wanted something that was plainer, I could come in there with a more solid color, like that. Okay. So I hope that gives you an idea of how to attach your napkin to your base. I use a lot of the cardstock. It's simply because I have it on hand. Okay, now this is about dry. That's when I would take my wax paper and just rub it. And I'm rubbing it really pretty good. Get my finger pressed down there. Okay, just like so. Now, do you see any bubbles? Nope, I don't see any bubbles.